No, they weren't roaring. Nah, just kidding. And big thanks to our sponsor, Nobody. Stick around after the video for absolutely nothing. Hello everyone, and welcome to another video on this channel. Today, we're going to be looking at one of the most significant events in US history. It's literally in the title. Why do I need to tell you? Fine, it's the Roaring Twenties. No, not the 2020s. They're not exactly what you would call roaring. I'm talking about 1920s America, a place of flourish, opportunities, freedom, and lots of crime. That's right, the Roaring Twenties might not live up to its name. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's discuss how it got that name in the first place. But first, let's get some context. The year is 1920, and the US has just fought a world war. While the European countries are struggling to recover from the war, the US had a strong economy, and even fighting a world war is not enough to weaken it significantly. But quite the opposite. The US had made a good amount of money selling the Europeans ammunition during the war, and that gave the economy the push it needed to begin to transform the country into the superpower it has become today. It was an age of inventions and businesses. People were migrating from devastated Europe to start a new life in the US. Wait, selling ammunition isn't enough to boost an economy, you say? That's not how you become a superpower, you say? Well, that's what this video is all about. Now, the first impacts of the Roaring Twenties can be seen before it started, during the war, where most of the men of the US went to fight for their country, and all that was left in the country was children, women, empty workspaces, and men unable to work in them. Something had to be done to keep the country and the army running. So it all came to the women of the country to do just that. Places where men usually worked were now teeming with women, working to keep the country running. And you know what happens when a country depends on a certain group of people? That's right, they become important. And that's just what happened. Women became more free from their men, and the whole country depended on them. And so they deserved a reward, as they had proven to the men of the country that they can be just as productive as men, if not more, and that they deserved to have equal rights as men. I also want to point out that the women's rights movement had been happening since a century, so women had been fighting since a long time for this. The 19th Amendment to the US Constitution granted American women the right to vote, a right known as women's suffrage, and was ratified on August 18, 1920. This was just the beginning, and things would only get better from here. Now, I know this is great and all, but it doesn't tell us how the US managed to grow its economy from selling ammunition. Well, another impact of the Roaring Twenties, also during the war, I'm sure you can see the pattern by now, was the growth of the cinema industry. When the war was waging, people were looking for ways of escapism, and the cinema was the perfect solution. Soon, the cinema economy was thriving and was gaining more money than ever. Soon, it spread worldwide, bringing in more money into the country. All this money still wasn't enough to create a superpower, but it was enough to give rise to many inventions that would contribute to the economy. One such invention was the assembly line. While the assembly line had been invented a long time before the Roaring Twenties, it was improved and popularized and consequently used in all sorts of then complex manufacturing processes like automobile manufacturing. This led to automobiles being cheaper so more people can own them, which means people can work at and go to places that would have been considered far. This would mean that people can now work at places that suit them better, making them make more money and contribute more to the American economy. This led to the economy booming and more inventions such as the radio and the growth of American trade with other countries, and all of this would contribute towards creating a superpower. Until it happened. There is a well-known quote about power. Wait, no, not that one. Yes, this one. With great power comes great responsibility. This is a well-known quote, and I agree with it, because if you have great power, your mistakes will be amplified, and people would expect more from you. That's exactly what happened in America during the 1920s. On October 28, 1919, the Congress passed the National Prohibition Act, aka the Volstead Act. This included the prohibition of all alcoholic beverages. Prohibition was not a new idea, and it had been considered since before America became independent. You might think that this was good and all, but it was actually very bad for the United States. You see, when you stop someone from getting or doing something, they will always look for other ways. People were making their own alcoholic beverages deep in the forest, and criminal organizations started a black market for alcoholic beverages. This is seen to cause crime rates to go higher, as criminal organizations now had more money and power. Some criminal masterminds, such as Al Capone, would even go to the extent of controlling cities and mayors. There was also a decrease in tax income because people disliked this decision. This later led to the National Prohibition Act being repealed on December 5, 1933, after the Roaring Twenties were over. There were also other negative effects, like movies becoming more morally loose, which made many Americans worried about the morals of the youth of the country, but those are insignificant compared to the rise in crime rates. To add upon all of that, for some reason, the Roaring Twenties were part of the reason the Great Depression started, for a lot of reasons, including the overproduction of agricultural produce and speculation, which is the purchase of an asset hoping it would increase in price over time. So it could be argued in both directions that the Roaring Twenties were both good and bad. It seems that many people suffer because of it, while many people have benefited from it. It is still debated whether or not the events which happened in the 1920s were good or bad overall, but it is agreed that it had a huge impact on our world today. The world took some time to recover from the Great Depression, and today's economy could have been better if the Great Depression hadn't happened. But if the Great Depression hadn't happened, maybe we could have made the same mistakes, but with more losses. And some studies show that prohibition may not have contributed to an increase of crime after all. That is still debated and unlikely, as crime rates weren't recorded well at that time. In conclusion, I think that the Roaring Twenties were actually a time of prosperity and success, and it has led the world being better overall nowadays, though there are some side effects to success, like the crime rates rising in America. It seems that the Roaring Twenties were, after all, roaring. That's it for the video. Please make sure to subscribe if you feel like it, and also make sure to join our Discord server and complete the survey we've made to know more about our audience. Links in the description, and I'll see you all in the next video.